Look at his
I'm a little nervous.
He doesn't want to intro it.
Okay, let me try to think of how I want to word this.
I think you should intro this.
I'll intro it, no problem.
Okay.
Welcome, David, to the Iron Bros podcast, man. That's really bad. I'm not doing that. You do it, Kyle.
Glad to be here, Chief.
Give the typical intro. Watch the character he gets into.
What do you mean I get into a character?
He goes, all right. Hey, guys, welcome. But it's more Kyle. It's not like...
Are we good to go?
We've been good.
So, we're back with another episode of Iron Bros. And today, Anthony, we have a very special guest, friend, the beloved David Lade.
Welcome, friend.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining
Mr.
us.
Mantello, Mr. Wilkes.
I appreciate you joining us on this
You guys got quite an elaborate setup. I've never seen a podcast be done in a full gym before.
Have you done a lot of podcasts?
This is probably my third one, I think, yeah.
Lucky number 3.
Lucky number 3. Hopefully this one goes well.
We can only hope. You used to have your own podcast channel, too. I was on that.
It's still, the channel's still live.
Yeah.
It does exist, and, new episodes coming whenever they come.
Last episode, what was I think 2 years ago at this point?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something just crazy.
Probably retired.
So, we want to value your time. We don't have a laundry list of questions. We just have the important ones we want to get down to. So, David.
Shit.
You've been often referred to. I have a lot of clients that look up to you, let's just say, a lot of the younger generation. And I guess it'd be interesting to kind of explain your take on how you got into fitness in terms of like YouTube, because you're like the grandfather. Everyone looks up at you and kind of regards you as that.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you pick up a camera in the first place?
Well, I think to go back super far, ever since I was maybe like 8 or 9 or 10 years old, I just always gravitated towards like cameras. Like I've seen many, many movies. I was always just in love with watching things, TV shows, whatever it may be. And, yeah, I just got my hands on a camera relatively early, and some of the first few things I would film would be like magic tricks, because that was like one of my first hobbies. As a kid, I was really into that, and I would just make YouTube videos like showing different kinds of tricks, different kinds of card flourishes, explaining how to do certain like magical routines, etc. So I always had a bit of a background when it came to just like editing things, and then that slowly transitioned over to making just random like YouTube videos. Like I would make like skits with my friends. I would get a green screen. I would, record random people flying in outer space and like do pranks and all that kind of stuff. So I always had like a very basic elementary background with, how cameras work, the basics of video editing. And I just always kind of had a drawing to that kind of, I guess, like art form, if you want to put it that way. And then when I started working out, which was when I was roughly, I want to say 12 or 13 years old, I just started taking an insane amount of pictures of my progress. I had so many before pictures. I just had just a boatload of pictures throughout the whole process, which was very, very useful for when I decided to do a transformation, like sometime in the future. So yeah, because this is all like pulling back to like how I eventually got on YouTube and everything. So like I said, I started working out when I was 12 or 13. I took an immense amount of pictures of my progress. Then when I was about 15 or 16 years old, I remember getting brutally injured because I used to play ice hockey. I stopped when I was in 8th grade. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, I went public skating. And that's just when, people are just in their skates and their casual clothing. They're just like hanging out, like skating around the ice. And then right as that, event was about to close off, I raced someone, right? Like right before the Zamboni was about to go on. 3, 2, 1, go. We're skating full speed. And then when I get halfway across the ice, I make a stride that was just a bit too clunky, a bit too long. And I basically broke a bone in my leg. It was a very, very rare bone to break. I think my ligament or tendon literally broke off this bone called a lesser trochanter. And I think at that time, there was only 33 other people in the world that sustained that injury. So it was extremely niche and rare. But anyway, I was in cataclysmic pain. I fell straight to the ice, was taken to the ambulance, a whole 9 yards. And I just essentially had to be bed rested for about a month and a half of just staying home, like doing nothing. Couldn't even go to school. The teachers had to come to me, my bad. So in that time frame, I was just ridiculously bored. I beat all the video games I was playing. I watched a whole bunch of TV shows, and I was like, you know what? Let me make a transformation video. So when I would think of transformation videos, one of my big inspirations was like someone called Ziz, which fuck me, Jesus, which I'm sure you guys know. And his transformation video was like under the style of like, I don't know, house hard style kind of music in the picture format with the occasional video. So I was like, okay, I kind of like that template. Let me use his kind of music or that genre, that style of music to make my own transformation video. And I did that. I released that video when I was like 15 or 16, sophomore in high school. It ended up doing like exceptionally well, and I was really, really happy with it. And then I was continuing lifting. I was continuing making more progress. Then the summer going into senior year of high school, I decided to make another transformation video. And I was like, okay, I've made substantially better progress since then. I have way better pictures of myself. If I make another transformation video and I use copyright-free music this time, I can then monetize the video, and then I can maybe take the ad revenue that I earn from that video to do something along the lines of purchasing a camera and getting into the fitness industry space, like whatever that meant, because at that time I watched everyone. Twin Muscle Workout, the Hodge Twins, Matt Ogus, Chris Jones, literally Scooby, just everyone. I watched everyone in that space, which is interesting because that space at the time, the fitness space, was nowhere near the size it is now. It's just like a fraction of like how large the industry is today, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. So I was in tune with everything in the fitness industry. That was the main thing that I was like, that was preoccupying my brain. I was following it and stuff. So I was okay, I just kind of want to break into that space. So it went exactly according to plan. That summer going into senior year of high school, I released a transformation video. I had a thumbnail that I just knew deep down, like, this is a banger. This is just gonna slap. It's gonna work. I titled it right. I released that, and that video just skyrocketed, just exponential growth. And because it was copyright free, I was able to, like, exactly as planned, make money from it. Then I used that money. I bought a camera, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just film videos of me going to the gym with my friends. And at that time, my friend Dylan McKenna, he was in school with me. He was, you know, the same year as me. And he was the only person that I knew that just had that unapologetic, ruthless passion for working out that I did. Sure, we had other friends that we went to school with that, you know, occasionally lifted here and there, would maybe join us, but like, it was nothing like me and Dylan. So we had just such a pure passion for it. And then all I did was I just took that camera without really thinking too much about it. There was not really much going on in my mind. Me and him would just go to the gym. We would film our workouts. We just existed as is, and we just happened to film it. And because of that, like, subtle background that I had with making videos, I had just enough, I guess, experience or competence to slice up the videos in a way that was like coherent and flowed, and it was presentable, combined with like the actual contents of what was shot was like so pure because we were so into it. We recorded that, uploaded it, and then people just really enjoyed it. So I take it people saw my transformation videos like, wow, this individual made like a substantial amount of progress at such an early age. I wouldn't necessarily assume that this is possible, but now seeing him do that, I know that it is possible. So I'm curious, you know, how did he do it? Like, what tips, tricks does he know? I kind of want to understand so I can maybe do something of the same. And I think that's why people wanted to then watch my videos. And then I think they enjoyed, like, you know, the tips or the recommendations or the methodologies or routines or dietary protocols that I followed. But I think they also enjoyed the camaraderie, just like the friendship aspect of the video and just the overall just atmosphere of it. It was very genuine, because I think at the time in the fitness industry, most of the content creators, for the most part, they were like fully grown adults, either working like 9-to-5s or like slowly transitioning to like a fitness only entrepreneurial pursuit. And there wasn't really anyone that was extremely young, like in the midst of their journey and like documenting it. I think that was like novel at that time. I think now it's extremely common, like very common. But I think that was one of the unique characteristics of myself at that time that made me stand out and like had especially young people gravitate towards me. Because if you're young, you want to see someone that's roughly your age, in the same shoes that you're in, having the same experiences that you're having, because you feel you can relate to them a lot more. Sure, you could think the Hodge Twins are funny, or, you know, Matt Ogus's physique is like sick and stuff, and you'll watch all those people with immense satisfaction, but I don't feel like it's quite the same as watching someone that, like I said, that you feel very peer-to-peer with. So I think that was a large reason why I was able to surmount such a large audience at a young age. And then when it comes to just the overall evolution of making videos, like I said, because I was always into, I suppose, cinematography or just movies, just visuals, expressions of art in that way, I would over time try to make my videos like more elevated. I would, you know, get things like drones. I'd want to film things in more of like a cinematic way. I would pay just such like fine degrees of like attention to detail when it comes to like edits, and just put a lot of effort into like little things in the video. So yeah, I mean, it just started off as like a casual thing, making videos with my friends, and I would just try to just make my videos as good as I, you know, could. And then I started working with Gymshark when I was at the end of my senior year in high school, and that was like absolutely huge for me because I watched Gymshark start as a company when I was like a freshman in high school, when I was like around 13. That's roughly when they started. So I watched them from the very, very beginning. I knew every single athlete that they sponsored. I watched all the vlogs with everyone at the events, and I just thought it was literally the coolest thing in the world. So as I was coming up, you know, gaining followers and traction on the internet, etc., there were a few like smaller little companies like reaching out to me, albeit they were hardly any of them because Gymshark was so new. But I was just kind of holding out for Gymshark, like desperately hoping that something could work out through there. So when they sent me an email, I remember I was 2 months out of graduating my senior year of high school. I got that email and I was just blown the fuck away. It was just dopamine gushing out of my ears. It was like the best day of my life. And then, you know, since then I started working with them, traveled the world with them, and try to make videos throughout the entire process. And it was a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Well, that was the
a lot.
intellectual answer
Thank
I
you.
expected. Just to dive into it a little bit, there are 2 points, I guess, that kind of stuck out to me and maybe to you.
I
The
have a lot
first
to share.
being, had you not gotten injured ice skating, perhaps that drive and passion to get into fitness to that degree wouldn't have been there. Is that fair to say?
Are you asking, do I think it would or wouldn't have if I didn't get injured?
Potentially.
That's a good question. So before getting into working out, I would like, I don't know if it's cyclically go through certain passions, but I would just become hyper fixated on certain things and they would, you know, move on to other things. So one of the first things I ever got into was like hockey. I was really into hockey. And then it kind of transitioned into magic. I was obsessed with magic. Then it kind of went a little bit into like techie stuff, like video editing, like a bit of like programming, just, you know, just techie computer oriented things. And all of those things I was really into and I enjoyed them a lot. But if someone would ask me, is this, you know, do you want to be a magician when you grow up or do you want to be in the NHL? I would always kind of have a lukewarm half-ass, yeah, maybe, I don't really know answer. It didn't really resonate with me on that fundamental level. But as soon as I caught that lifting bug, which I caught extremely quickly, it was in the first like 1 to 2 weeks of like starting working out, which was at my home for the first 3-4 months. I was doing push-ups and lifting water bottles and doing pull-ups on my fucking door frame.
Right.
The feeling that I got then, I just remember deep in my bones, like I just knew that this is what I'm going to do with my life. I didn't know precisely how it would manifest. I didn't know, you know, if it's going to be like a physique competitor or a social media person, which the social media person category wasn't even a conception in my mind. I didn't know what it was going to look like, a Mike O'Hearn magazine cover. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just knew for certain something vaguely around fitness is like what I'm going to do. And my dedication to it was like through the roof. That's all I thought about 24/7 all the time was my workouts, getting my meals in, and just working out. It was just in my thoughts all the time. And me getting injured, that, you know, that temporary tragedy did convert into something amazing, which was that transformation video. But if I didn't get injured, I mean, I would like to think that I could have still done something in the fitness space. Maybe I would have made a transformation video later. Maybe I would have, you know, done a competition or something of the sort. I'm not quite sure. But I'd like to think that even if I didn't get injured, I would still arrive somewhere in a fitnessy context doing that as like a job or whatever.
Now, do you think, before Anthony, I'll let you give your input, that first transformation video was really the video that people could look back at, and I don't know how many views it has now, but I'm sure it's higher than ever, obviously. Had that video not done so well, and despite you manifesting it, despite you saying, hey, this thumbnail's going to pop off, this is it, had that not done well, would you have not continued maybe? Is that a chance?
Well, I mean, I think that I would have continued working out for sure. Whether that would have been my job is a different story,
Right.
But if I'm looking back to where I was in headspace emotionally at that time, there was nothing stopping me from like working out and growing my physique. But, you know, if it didn't work out in the fitnessy space, I'd like to think that, I don't know, maybe I would have done something with computers, maybe been in IT, maybe have been like just something like that.
But it wasn't tied directly to the results and the attention that it drew, right? Because I think a lot of times people nowadays, they post something, if they don't get a lot of likes, they'll delete it or they move on. They give up really easy, whereas you were truly driven by like passion.
Well, that's really interesting. It's difficult to say because doing fitness on social media was so new at the time. So even the concept of, oh, what if my post doesn't perform well? I might feel insecure and delete it. That wasn't even a thought process. So I could sit there and say that I was very like wholesome and I wasn't egotistically impacted by things like that. I could take that stance. But at the same time, even if that would be true, What's also true is the reason that I started working out was because I was so unbelievably insecure. So my drive was directly correlated with how people perceive me. I started because I didn't like people's perception of my weak, fragile, skinny state. So that's what spawned the motivation for me to change that. I wanted to be perceived as like bigger, better, like stronger, right? So even if that, you know, maybe insecurity or validation wasn't transmuted through my social media activity, it would be transmuted in my day-to-day life. Absolutely.
At the time, as you mentioned, a lot of the things that people consider now and things that drive them are much different. There was nothing that existed like social media now,
here's
right?
what I think it is. I think that when I got into the fitness industry space, that whole idea of the online fitness industry being something that an individual could pursue with enough monetary success to turn into their full-time job, that idea was very brittle at best. Like, that wasn't really a thing. So I think that when I did it, I think it like expanded awareness of that space a little bit. It got a bit more saturation. Then I think maybe what you're getting at is, since the exponential growth of the fitness industry, now a lot of people are looking at it being like, huh, this is a fully matured, well-developed industry with a roughly clear-cut path on some steps that you could follow to be able to make money from doing it, right? So maybe you could be getting along lines, and maybe some people could be now entering that space, not from maybe a creative or physique purist kind of point of view, but from like just treating it like a job.
I think I look at it like, you get asked the question in school, what do you want to be when you grow up? A doctor, a lawyer, an athlete, something like that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a common answer is like an influencer.
Social media, whatever it is.
It's like a thing. It didn't exist at your time. It wasn't an option for a career. So I think it's very interesting that, again, you got into it for your pure organic standpoint of who you are and what you enjoy doing, as opposed to many people now, they look at it, I can make money and do something like this rather than go to school, pursue education, and maybe follow a typical 9-to-5 job that other people would go after.
Does it feel any different for you now, being, I guess, a top-level influencer in this game, compared to it being super, like, with it being super saturated now with everyone doing it? Does it feel like?
I think that, yes. I mean, when I was doing it, it was definitely new. And I was just constantly focused on making more content, growing my physique, all of that. Now, definitely, you know, the space is very, very saturated. There's a lot of people doing like very like similar things, but I don't know. Sometimes it does get more difficult to make content, I suppose, because when I was first making videos, my body was more or less healthy. I didn't really have any like debilitating injuries, and my main goal in life was just to get bigger and stronger, and specifically stronger like in powerlifting. And I was filming myself doing that. So since then, I've gotten like a few injuries that I've been like dealing with. Things are going pretty well, but for like many years now, I haven't been able to lift, at least in a powerlifting context, the way that I'd like. So that's definitely taken a massive toll on the way that I train. And I think my overall relationship with training has definitely evolved, because before it was, I'll do just whatever it takes to get as big as strong as possible. Is the only thing that I care about. And that obviously resulted in some injuries. Not that it has to, but for me, it happens to result in some injuries. So now, like, I'm not so hell-bent on getting as big and jacked as possible. Like, to me right now, my primary concerns and priorities are to not have any pain in my body, to have full mobility, to have full range of motion on movements, just to not have any pain day to day, and just like feel good in the gym, make sure all my connective tissues are doing well, all my ligaments and tendons, everything's all smooth, oiled up, and feeling well. And just the way that my physique looks now, like I don't have the body dysmorphia that I used to have, even though like I'm not like a super ridiculous like heavyweight bodybuilder or like a shredded like magazine cover. Just how I look, roughly speaking, on a day-to-day, I'm content with. Do I want to improve? Sure, absolutely. I'd love to gain more muscle, I'd love to get stronger, but it doesn't come from this place of just this absolute urgency. It just comes from me enjoying working out. Like, I genuinely enjoy training. I love the endorphins that it gives me in the gym. I love doing something that elevates my heart rate. I just feel better throughout the day. And because of that, a lot of people that follow me, I think that they still want to see that side of me that just wants to get as big, as strong as possible over everything, because at their point in their development, in their life at that moment, that's what they care about the most, which is absolutely fine. I've been there. So a lot of people can feel like dissatisfied if, you know, that isn't my like absolute priority. And also just like geographical constraints revolving like my friends back in the day. Like I said, I used to make videos in high school. You know, my friend Dylan lived like close by to me, so making content was a lot more organic now because a lot of people like moved out to different states and stuff. Sometimes it's not as easy to just, you know, nonchalantly, quickly, off the cuff, just like film content with people, because so many of the people that I know that are my friends like live, you know, quite far away.
What were your injuries? Because you had them for quite a bit now.
So mainly it's been my back. Somewhat recently in the last few years, it's become my shoulder, annoyingly, because the shoulder thing happened outside of the gym, which is the most frustrating thing in the world. But the gist with my back is back in my powerlifting days, I would sleep so little, I would abuse stimulants, I would abuse 1,3-dimeth, and I would just, basically to put it simply, I would overtrain and under-recover. And when I would feel like a pain or discomfort in my back, I'm like, oh, it's probably muscle, you know, it'll go away, whatever. And I wasn't able to like distinguish between muscle fatigue and straight up, you know, L2 disc herniation. Like I didn't have that like little nuanced discernment. So I just pushed through pain. I used Advil, I used stimulants, and then that just cumulatively gave so much wear and tear to my back to where
eventually it gives out.
Yeah, like I thought it would eventually go away. It didn't, but you know, to get like specific, I basically have several end plate fractures in my spine, which basically means like, you know, your spine is like vertebrae disc, vertebrae disc, vertebrae disc. People typically bulge a disc so the disc will pop out. I had a very unique injury, and the reason that a disc bulges is because there's like uneven pressure that like shoots it out. I have an end plate fracture, which means that the pressure was perfectly even and it smashed the discs together. Like my disc gel broke into the bone above, and that happened to like several plates, and that resulted in like my spine being shortened. So I'm an inch shorter than I'm like supposed to be. I have spinal instability, so a bunch of like nerves and tendons all get like fucking inflamed and everything, and I just don't have that like stability, because if the body isn't like fully stable in a joint, it's not going to allow you to exude like maximum force with your muscle output. So however strong like I am at a certain like deadlift or whatever, my body simply will not allow me to push as much, because there's like a limiter switch, because it can sense my like structures all fucked up. But since then, I mean, to heal that, essentially I had to like take some time off lifting. I have to be very, very careful, which I'm basically out of pain now, and I'm just working on slowly gaining my strength back on the compound movements, and it's gonna be a while, but it is what it is.
The shoulder, is that good too?
Oh, my shoulder, I was just literally wrestling a friend like an idiot, and I was in a weird situation. I leaned back and then it just like snapped. I thought it was a labrum issue, but turns out it's just my AC joint just got like borderline torn and just got like really, really stretched. And since then I've like dislocated a whole bunch of times, like playing hockey and whatnot, never in the gym. And I got some injections in there, like some placental matrix, some exosomes. Not quite stem cells. I'm going to do stem cells soon, which I'm very excited for. But I got like just shy of stem cells in the shoulder. That's like helped a good bit. I don't really have much pain there. There's just like a little bit of instability, but like I think it's being worked through just fine. But Jesus, the fact that it happened outside the gym is just annoying.
So are you basically healed at this point? Like you're good?
Upper body, for all practical reasons, like yes. My lower body, I still have to be careful with certain movements that I do and how much load that I use. But I think that if I keep up at this pace, I think in 5 years, I should be pretty robust. I should definitely be moving like 3 plates on squats for many, many reps, deadlifting 4 plates for many, many reps, pain-free. And I think if I can get there, pain-free, that'll be great.
Slow progress.
Slow and steady.
I heard 5 years. I was like, damn. I guess with myself, I would just be very, if I'm healed, like I want to get back to where I was as fast as possible, which probably is the wrong mindset of being in your shoes.
The way I look at it is just the weakest chain in the link. So like my erectors are strong, all these muscles are strong, but like if one of the tendons or whatever, there's like micro movements in the back, like you're limited by that. And for that stuff to heal and like stiffen, that takes it a shit ton of time. And it's going to be easy to overreach because all your other stuff is stronger, but I have to literally go so slow to let that weakest chain heal.
You seem to be very accepting of some of your injuries, which I think for a lot of people can be difficult. I myself have been going through injuries, right? Lost my train of thought. Give me a moment. All right, let's go. I got to take a piss real quick.
Shit, Brant?
So how's the podcast going?
I fucked up big time, bro.
What did you do, bro?
I lost my train of thought. Like when we were talking about it, I had it.
You know what sucks? That last this is my third podcast. My first one with Bradley Martin was fine. It was
That
good.
was a good one.
My second one with Chris Williamson was the biggest fucking train wreck of my life.
Really?
I literally showed up to that. I didn't sleep the night before. I just finished a 5-hour meet and greet. I wasn't caffeinated. Like,
Did that go live?
it did go live. I was literally slurring my speech. Like, this has never happened to me before. For the first time in my life, I was listening to someone speak, and I could not pay attention to what he was saying because my brain was just melting out of the side of my face. And I would just have these long, like 30-second pauses, and then I would just and then use a $10 word, and then just be paralyzed again. It was the most tragic thing ever.
I'm not a podcaster, bro.
So, I mean, bro, the show they put on for the Chris Williamson podcast, was it the same as like Chris's? Like Chris,
Sorry.
it's hurt, right?
Yeah, it feels
Like
I'm
Chris
looking up
Bump says, bro, they had like 6 red cameras when they came to Florida, bro.
Super cinematic with it.
Holy shit, it's like a Christopher Nolan setup.
It is. He shoots on red Komodos now. It looks beautiful.
I mean, yeah. But,
Yeah.
All right, here, Kyle.
So I would say it seems that you're very accepting of the injuries you've been having. As someone like me who's gone through them recently, and a lot of people get hurt, unfortunately, as we get older, there's always has to be some type of mindset shift to where you get to that point where you accept it, and if you're going to continue, you have to do something different. What was that point for you, and how long did it take for you to change that mentality?
Not with all injuries, but with some injuries, it's kind of like karma. Like, for example, with my back, there were so many clues that I had that, you know, I could have changed my behavior earlier on to change. Then the other injuries, they just like spawn up out of the blue, kind of like what happened to you and kind of what happened like with like my shoulder. They just like happen to you. And it does like really, really, really suck because, you know, while you're injured in those beginning stages, you realize like, fuck, like how much you took for granted, like your healthy state. You could have had days where you maybe didn't feel the best or whatever, but your body was perfectly healthy. You felt good. You were able to train, and you just didn't take a moment to like sit and appreciate that. But now that you don't have that anymore, that's all you could think about that. Like there's like some quote out there or whatever saying that like, if you're healthy, you have like a million problems. If you don't have your health, you have one problem, which is getting your health. Like it's the most important thing. So for me, there was definitely like an acceptance component, just accepting like, listen, this is just my state right now. There's nothing I could do to like magically like transport in the past. So lamenting on that it's not gonna provide me anything. It's just gonna cause unnecessary pain and suffering. So you just kind of have to go into like a hyper pragmatic mode, being like, okay, let me objectively evaluate my situation. Okay, this is where I am. These are like the tangible steps that I know that I could follow to get better. Now, as depressing and tedious and boring as that some of those rehabilitative processes could be, I simply need to follow this and have the same attitude towards this as I do towards like my hardcore heavyweight training. And I just simply need to do that until I get back to where I was in the past or as good as I could possibly get. And yeah, I mean, it's honestly just, it takes like a lot of like discipline and patience and just like acceptance, really, which is a good, difficult thing.
Have you noticed, because at least I'm starting to notice, there are some moments in the gym or just in everyday life where I actually forget I got hurt for a second, and I'm like, that's what it used to be like. You don't think about these things, but once your mind is so fixated on it, like anything in life, that's all you can think about. But there's some moments that at least I experienced where maybe I'm doing a movement or just like I was walking the other day, and for a second I'm like, is it my left knee or my right knee? Like, what quad is it? And then I'm like, oh, all right, that's what it is. Have you experienced that? Maybe when you're lifting, you're like,
yeah, your body kind of starts to feel like foreign to you, like afterward. Like in like day-to-day movements, you're like, huh, wow, this like, the stability of this body part or like the pain or whatever I feel here, it like wasn't how it used to be there before. And you almost have to like slowly like consciously and or unconsciously retrain certain like pathways and certain movements. But as a veteran in the industry field, I'll tell you, you'll get used to it. So it's a bit foreign at first, but you'll get there.
I'm a newbie. I haven't really gotten injured, so God bless.
Do your best to not. Because once you get injured, it's
you're lucky. You haven't had anything. You've just been
I've had some shit, like minor shit.
You're at that
flexor
age
when I was younger.
I feel like you're at that age. You're kind of in. For someone to get hurt at your age, it's kind of difficult in the gym.
You have to win the lottery like I did.
You got to be doing something really silly. You're still young enough. Give it a couple of years.
I think I train pretty smart. I don't go like above my limits. I don't push past or do stupid like fully weight stuff.
Compared to me and him, like one of the other variables is like, look how like elongated and lanky and thin I am.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'm designed to bear absurd weights. You're much more compact and dense, and you didn't do like ridiculous powerlifting.
True.
So just like from that point, you have it like much better.
I did do power building, and I was
For
shit
like
at
5
it.
minutes.
For 5
Do you even bench 315 yet?
Yeah, I did 355.
355?
Or no, plus 20, 35. Not that cool yet.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like he doesn't put himself in position for it to happen because I look at like a bench press, a flat bench press. It's not when, but it's not an if exercise, but when. It will lead to a tear at some point, especially if you're doing it for bodybuilding purposes, when you diet down or whatnot, or you just have that ego. But when you're younger, I see, you know, kids in the weight room in college or high school even, they can do those 1-rep maxes and it's horrible for them. It bounces off their sternum and there's no issue.
It's not even the people that lift.
If I do that, can you imagine? I don't know. I don't know what I wouldn't tear or break.
Yeah.
So
Someone that, because here's the thing, like, yeah, you can get injured in powerlifting, like, if you get egotistical with it, and most people have the propensity to, but, like, someone that comes to mind for free is my friend Sawyer, you know, like, Sawyer Clot, right?
Yeah.
He's been powerlifting this whole time. He religiously follows his program. Like, he fucks around on such rare occasion that it virtually doesn't even count, and he's been, like,
no
not
injuries?
injury-free, like minor injuries, like little aches and pains, sweeps along the road. But he deadlifts like, you know, like 850-ish, squats over 700, benches like mid-4s. And I feel like he's a good example of someone that like is disciplined with their training.
Now, this is a cool thing to bring up. Now, when you were lifting and powerlifting, right, your numbers were very impressive. But nowadays, kids like Sawyer smoke your numbers. And do you, like, I'm sure kids coming up are going to smoke Sawyer's numbers. Is it just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and
Really
bigger?
quick, I just want to say, Sawyer called me the other day. So Sawyer's goal is to hit like 1,000-pound deadlift like Natty. That's his like life's mission. And he's like 22 now, weighs like 240, 250 or whatever. There's this kid. He's 17 years old. I think he weighs around 180. He just like, he pulled like 870 or 880 or something, and he pulled 901, but his like grip got fucked up or whatever. So for all intents and purposes, he could pull like 900 in a perfect state, and he's like 17.
Is it 17-year-old natty?
I don't know if he's natty or not, but he's 17. He looks natty. He's fucking weighs 180.
Wow.
And he's just like, inflation nowadays with numbers is just like ridiculous.
It is crazy. Why do you think that is? Just with advancement and
I think it's that. I think one advancement, because the ways that I was like training, me and Dylan were training, not only were our programs suboptimal, even if we adhered to them 100%, we didn't adhere to them 100%. The programs were suboptimal. Powerlifting has gotten like way more advanced. And I also think there's just a larger amount of people like running the powerlifting experiment as well. So it's just inevitably bound that someone's gonna just like
the pool is much
larger,
bigger than it ever was,
with better science.
And I think exactly, you can learn anything you want. So whether you're trying to edit videos, or I don't know anything about editing a video. I'm sure if I actually made that my mission, there's reliable sources I could go to that would teach me exactly how to do it. Whereas when you were getting into it, you didn't really have anyone to follow. You had like some designs to go off of, but nowadays it's like there's so many specific things you could do.
For sure. There's also this other potential concept at play. I think back in the day, it was a unanimously accepted that it's impossible to run the mile under 4 minutes. So even all the top Olympic athletes, etc., like they just had that unconscious bottleneck.
mind, right?
Right. And then this one dude, Hikam El Garouche, he broke the 4-minute mile. He did like 3 minutes, 50 seconds or whatever. And then after that, people are like, huh, fuck, I guess that's possible. And then everyone started doing it. So maybe it's the same thing in powerlifting. If 675 is considered just, you know, a stepping stone to an intermediate, then it's like, all right, like this is what it is.
And I think with the pool being expanded as well, I think people start earlier.
For sure.
Lifting wise. I think it's like very popular now, something to do.
Yeah.
So
definitely probably the coolest thing to do in high school, I would think, besides sports.
Since we're talking more contemporary era stuff, obviously the fitness world and social media itself has evolved. I'm interested to know your takes on your perspective on where we are now. Did you ever see it getting to this point? And like, how do you overall feel comparing it to before it was where it's at now, I guess you could say?
Well, yeah, I mean, the social media fitness space has definitely like expanded exponentially, but I also think a large part of that is because just all forms of like social media, even outside of fitness, is like expanding. People are like using the internet a lot more. Younger kids are becoming more and more tech savvy, like tech's evolving. Everyone's got a nice like shiny smartphone. So I just think we're just like headed like as a society kind of in that direction of like technological like obsession and like super like usage and stuff. But in the fitness space, I definitely wouldn't have never thought that it would be like at the scale that it is today, and I could only imagine like just how large it can get. And I don't know, maybe like I sometimes like, because I don't really like sit around too often to really like put all that into perspective and just like really look at that scale from like that 10,000 foot view. But it's honestly like just absurd. Like the fact that nowadays like someone could sit there and you could argue how reasonable or unreasonable it is, but to sit there and be like, okay, I want to, you know, maybe not go to college and do something along the lines of like online, you know, influencer-ish kind of stuff where, you know, back when I was like starting out, like me walking around with like a gorilla pod and like a camera, that was just extraterrestrial behavior. That wasn't sane. That wasn't normal. Like that's like a psych ward. Like that's like you're a weirdo. But nowadays, like if you're not filming yourself in the gym and you don't have a selfie stick, you're almost like weird. It's like that quote about like alcohol. Like alcohol is the only drug that if you don't do, people think you have a problem. So it's gotten to like a wild state.
I think it's interesting because you had got into fitness and wanting to post your transformation because you were insecure about your body, right? However, you pointed out a genuine fact. You carrying around a tripod or a camera, if anything, brought attention to you in a negative way at the time where you were the weirdo. Did that ever play a role in your head where you felt weird?
I feel like I was always like, I don't know, I guess slightly atypical, like in certain ways. Like the things that I'd be interested in or like, you know, would not be like the most like common. So, you know, you like card tricks, other weird stuff like that. Just me going down like these like little idiosyncratic rabbit holes, like with such intensity and such like depth that wasn't like, I didn't really see a lot of people doing it like that. So, I mean, people just kind of judging me for just like uploading like selfies, because that's how my Instagram started. Like I would just upload just blatant just like pictures of like my progress and stuff where like, you know, it was normal to just post pictures with like, you know, at parties with friends, holding a big fish at a dock, just like stuff like that. So me just like selfie, no caption. It's just like, the fuck? Like, what is this like Patrick Bateman, like the psychopathic behavior? But basically, I was fully aware of how it was like perceived, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I saw something like in the long run of that could be beneficial towards me, that I just didn't like allow that to like impact me. If anything, I like use like the hate as motivation or whatever, but for the most part, I was just tunnel vision in my own lane like that.
Looking at the fitness space now, is there anything that bothers you in terms of what's being put out there or the convenience and accessibility that you would say, hey, that kind of bothers me. I think I wish I could change this if I could?
Or does Dave not even care?
Let me think about that for a sec. It's partially hard to say because I really don't consume fitness content myself. And I think I stopped consuming fitness content relatively early on. Just like when my motivation became more like self-sustained and I got a little older, and I think it's natural, very common. I think a lot of people do that. Like, you know, further on to their journey, they don't really follow, you know, too much of like other people or like what's happening really like too much, or at least to like an in-depth level. So I'm not like, I don't have like my full like skin in the game like I used to when I was following the fitness space when I was like 14. But things that I don't know. What do you think?
Ooh.
Yeah, what do you guys
I
think?
see you're being careful. You don't want to share what you don't like.
Because like I don't like, because I could like say a bunch of stuff, but at the same time, like I'm like not like perfect like either. So like I could like sit here like talk down a bunch of stuff.
It's not. It's just about matter of maybe it's morally
like,
for some people.
For example, like I could sit there and say there's like certain people's content that I like would enjoy like more than others, and I don't like certain kinds of content, but maybe that's just my own pure bias and preference. Maybe someone else fully enjoys that kind of content, and like neither of us are like right or wrong. It's just like a different preference. For sure. Like for like a basic thing is just like I don't know, like the flexing of material assets, right? And like for example, that's something that I don't really do, but I don't think that I'm better than other people because I don't do that, right? Because I express my ego in different ways. Right. A lot of other people express their egos through like the material, the symbolism that their material assets like imply, right? So I get that I have the same ego cravings that other people do. I just fulfill them in less common like ways and stuff. So for me to sit there and say that, oh, like I don't like you know, certain people being like flashy, like materialistic, that would almost be like subtly hypocritical, because I'm kind of doing the same thing that they are, but on like in a different like kind of like level. But like, for example, that's something that doesn't resonate with me. When I see like someone like flexing material assets, that doesn't make me feel like any kind of way. I don't feel inspired. I don't feel anything like that. But there's other people that absolutely can, and that can motivate them to like, you know, do something similar or like improve in their life. And that's absolutely fine. That's wonderful for them. I just like operate like kind of differently.
Gotcha. Now you mentioned something earlier where you had started lifting more so, I guess, with Dylan. He was a close friend in the beginning, kind of peer-to-peer thing, right?
Yeah.
As you got older, insert Anthony, who's much younger, maybe wasn't peer-to-peer on the scale of maturity at the time because he's just younger, right? What made you particularly take a liking to Anthony, or what made you say, you know what, let me help guide him maybe, or did you not even look at it like that?
Want to share the story? The magic box story?
We don't have to share the magic box story. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, a certain component of it was just, like chemistry, like, at a certain point. Like, I don't know, there's something about Anthony that I just, like, liked. Like, I don't know, maybe it was, like, more mature or something, or I don't know, maybe we had more, like, compatible personalities, but, like, I just found his presence to be
enjoyable,
to be pleasant. Yeah. So I just prolonged my exposure at the appropriate dose.
Thanks for doing that. What is your, I know there's like a personality test and you posted it before. What is your personality type?
I mean, it depends on which metrics you want to use. Like astrologically, I'm an Aquarius.
No,
Myers-Briggs, I'm an INTP.
Yeah, that one is what I'm talking about. No, what does that mean? Do you remember?
Fuck. I mean, I know that INTP, like the slogan for that one is like logician, means that you just like are just obsessed with logic.
Okay.
I don't really know too much of the other ones. I forget which one you are.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I know we both took the test and stuff like that. We also did both take a test as well, which was gonna hurt Dave's ego here. What is that test? The IQ test.
We took a fucking 20 question like online free like, IQ quiz.
No, it wasn't free. $20 because you paid for mine because you wanted it. In quarantine, he took an IQ test. He's quiet. He's like on the couch doing an IQ test. Gets the score he tells me to do. He said he'll buy it. Buys it for me. I do it. I get my score. We show each other, and I'm fucking higher by a couple of points.
Something wrong with that IQ test.
Oh, bullshit.
During quarantine, is that when you would say, hey, that's when our relationship really built?
I think a little bit beforehand, but quarantine, I'm sure, like...
Well, walk us through what happened during quarantine, because that was quite a substantial chunk in, I suppose, each of ours development.
Yeah. I mean, first, start with our friendship, right? Started like in the summer when I first met Dave. And then, yeah, I guess just personalities, you know, they fucking worked out to be friends. And then fast forward, when COVID hit, I was supposed to go to Arnold with my dad. He had work, and I still had a hotel room or anything like that, but I couldn't drive because I was 17. I couldn't drive out of state. So I was like, yo, Dave, I was like, I got a hotel and stuff for the Arnold. Like, can you take me? So we took a road trip out there, and that was a great time. I smoked a bunch of nicotine during that trip, had a lot of fun.
Nicotine,
yeah, okay. Dave, nicotine. And then after that, I remember that was my last day of school. So we had that weekend trip, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Ohio Arnold Classic. I get back to Dave's house Sunday night, super late. And I'm like, Dave, I have to go to school the next day. I have a test to do. My teacher told me if I didn't do the test, I'd get a 0, and then my grade would drop to failing. So got home super late, and he was like, just set an alarm, and my phone would be unlocked, and just book an Uber on my phone. So I booked an Uber, got home, left at like 4 in the morning, got to my house at like 5:30, went to school at 6:30, and that was my last day of high school, actually going into high school, and then COVID hit. When COVID hit, I was getting ready for a show with you, North Americans. I was training in my basement, the fucking shittiest, like, functional machine there was, and with a 25-pound dumbbell. Dave texts me, or calls me, I don't know, either one. He's like, yo, do you have a gym to train at? I was like, not really. And I was like, cool, pack a bag, I'm getting an Uber.
Because all the gyms were closed, right? And you had, like, a show coming up and stuff, you would have been fucked.
Yeah, so he was nice, and I guess he wanted a friend. Brought me down there, literally, and then I went with just a bag. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, Dave invited me to stay at his house for a quarantine for a little bit. Can I go? She's like, yeah, go. My parents were luckily very lenient with that. Yeah. Let me go.
I just thought he was going to go down for a weekend. I held him hostage for about 4 months with my friend Jeff.
Yep. Which turned into a very pleasant quarantine compared to, I'm sure, other people's.
That was a lovely time. It's like everything just went on pause.
Life was so different.
Like the world was shut down. We had all that we needed for our simple lives, just gravity, a garage full of iron, grass-fed beef, sunlight in a sauna in a pool. Like, we were literally living in ecstasy.
We were living it up. Me and Dave were playing some video games here and there. I beat him in every single Call of Duty game. What else would we do a lot? It was just lifting in his gym, loud music. I was addicted to nicotine at the time, so I was consuming a lot of nicotine, unfortunately, at a young age, which is very typical, but unfortunate. Oh, we did school projects too, dude. They don't know about this school project, but this is a funny story. Care to elaborate here on the story?
I mean, to my recollection, you had like I guess you were still in school technically. You were just kind of doing some online stuff to graduate, and then for your English class, they needed like some essays or video essays or some weird kind of thing and stuff. So then like, what, we just like film like a random skit or something?
Yeah. So my teacher reached out to my dad. Hey, your son's not doing any of his work. Like, can you get him to do work? So I was like, I looked at my portal and I had a bunch of missing assignments, and I did them all. And the one assignment was read one of these poems, and we chose the poem to be or not to be, and didn't read it, didn't really care to. I read it, and it said to have like a discussion about it. I was like, Dave, I'm setting up my phone. I was like, say a bunch of words about it, and I'll say like I said it. So we did this 2-minute video, Dave shirtless in a towel. I introduced the video, hello, Miss McCann. This is my late essay assignment.
This is my Miss McCann. I wrote the most brilliant essay.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a throat problem. I can't speak, so I wrote it all out. And my friend, my speaking partner, David, he's gonna read off my work to you. So here we go.
God. Yeah. And Dave spewed out with his fancy words and stuff like that, and I was just like, 100%, dude. You got that all right. And then I handed it in, and I got an 80 on it. She replied to it. This was totally not the assignment, but you never fail to make me laugh. Here's an 80, and I got an 80.
Very nice.
And I graduated high school. And we actually made a really cool fucking video, which was a great ego stroke. So I didn't have a graduation, like a legit ceremony.
You showed me this.
So they did an online thing where they told you, make a video with you like throwing your cap, saying your name, where you're going to college, or anything like that. I was like, Dave, I'm not doing any of that, but I have your camera skills. Let's make a movie. So we did a little car scene where I got into my car. It was a drone shot. I drive off. I threw the cap through the sunroof. And it was just pretty. And everyone else's was hi, throw, bye.
My name's Kevin. I just graduated.
Yep. So quarantine was great, man. It was definitely long. I feel bad for your mother. I apologize deeply. Definitely stayed pretty long. But it was fun. I enjoyed that. It's definitely a time in my life I look back on with great memories.
That's when I first met you.
Really?
Quarantine.
Oh yeah, quarantines. We would train at the gyms.
Oh,
and
yeah,
shit.
I remember that. We did like a chest day, then we did like some leg day where like after the first set of fucking drop sets, I was like, fuck this nonsense, I'm out. This shit is ridiculous. This is like masochism or sadism, whichever one hurts the world hurting you. It was the worst shit ever. It's like, why do you do that to yourself? Just like, go close to failure, eat enough protein, just, it just hurts so bad.
When you do that leg training, is it to test the person and show them they can push more? Or like when you're, for example, Dave, he never did that type of training before, right? You kill him within the first exercise. I think he's just a sophisticated bully.
Maybe like in high school, like he just bullied people the classic way, realized, oh, that's not socially acceptable nowadays, so I'm going to disguise myself as a bodybuilding coach. I'm going to fuck people on the quad machine.
Is that true?
I would say more so sometimes it's to show people that they're capable.
Yeah.
Right? Because training is interesting. It's during a set when you start to fatigue and you have that lactic acid build up and it's burning, that sensation. It's one of the only things in life where as soon as the set's over and you're done, you put the weight back, it all goes away.
Relief, yeah.
Right? Nothing else in life I can really relate to that being the case. Any kind of injury, you're in pain, you need an ambulance, I'm on the ground, I can't get up. It doesn't work that easy. But weightlifting, no matter how hard it is, the longer you can endure it, as soon as you stop, everything gets better.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, they don't have the mental fortitude and the belief in themselves to push themselves. So when I push someone like that,
you failed.
It's more so to show like where you thought you could go, you already exceeded it. And now you'll apply this as something in life. Maybe it's not even weightlifting, but wow, this opened my eyes. I actually can do a lot more. And maybe you don't give a shit about training legs. But it taught you something, for sure.
Listen, I'll say this. I think I haven't trained legs in a while around that time, whenever back hurt and stuff. So we came in. I only did that one drop set of quad extensions. I shit you not. I was sore for 2.5 weeks after. 2.5 weeks. I'm like, this is genuinely so impressive. I feel like I'm like permanently this way. Fuck.
Those leg training scarred the fuck out of me.
It's wild. That's pretty similar to how I used to train my first year. I would just like go God mode to failure, but I just ate like 1,300 calories a day, and I just didn't get any benefits from it at all.
Holy
just some
shit.
Stupid shit like that. Not enough.
So switching gears a little bit, your relationship with Anthony, you guys built a great relationship through quarantine. I'm sure that really helped kind of propel things. He's obviously evolved a lot since. What is from a friend perspective, I suppose, or even maybe a mentor to a degree, because he's always looked up to you. What do you think of the young man he's become so far?
He knows all my deepest, darkest secrets. Like this guy, he's very close to me. He knows everything.
You know the
As you guys do
You know
too.
the movie Inception?
Yes.
I extracted his brain while fully awake. Didn't even need to go to sleep. But I would say, I'd say he, you know, turned out to be an exceptional young individual. I think that his devotion to his bodybuilding craft is absolute, I would say. And I'm very excited to see how you perform in this show coming up in about 3 to 4 weeks. And yeah, if I'm home, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Come to the one in South Carolina too?
Dude, you were at the one in South Carolina.
What's the
last
one in
time.
South Carolina?
That's the one if I go pro.
You remember that?
My God.
The Waffle House memories.
Check out that wagon you dragging.
That
You should come.
You should be filming your shits in a Waffle House. That'll be that would
show?
be, yeah.
We were at a Waffle House and you asked for pancakes.
I'm with you there too.
It's the same.
Like I've never been to a Waffle House. I kind of have a fucking pancake. Why is it only waffles? It's kind of stupid.
That was quite the memorable experience.
That was a fun time. We stayed up the whole night, fucking went to Waffle House, and then dipped the next day. And then that's when I got my new car, right? The Audi.
Yeah.
Your car was fucking dead. And we wanted to get food at Tommy's Tavern after. And I wanted to kill you because it was post-show and I wanted to eat so bad and your car was blocking the driveway and you're freaking out. You're like,
the alarms.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
God.
alarm,
Remember
yeah.
that?
Wow, yeah, that shit was
fucking,
Very
Feels
loud.
like so long ago.
yeah. Well, it kind of is. It's
I think
almost
it was
3 years
long
at this
ago.
point. That's almost 3 years.
wow.
Holy shit. But yeah, no, the regional show would be in 3 weeks, which obviously we're getting ready for. I think we're on track. And then South Carolina is the one where hopefully the goal's achieved going pro.
How old are you now?
21.
Wow.
The age you met me at. Yeah.
I was I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you win that show, then you're gonna go to South Carolina?
Yeah.
So speaking of shows, why have you never ever competed? Has it been a thought you just didn't care to? Weren't no strong urge and pull for David Lee to step on a stage?
Let me really think about this. I usually give a simple answer, but see if we can make it fancy. I don't know if any of this is true, but I'm just gonna try to like say the most interesting thing that I could come up with that I think is probably true. So why do we all like work out and stuff, right? It's to basically look a certain way in the eyes of other people and yourself. We all have the same eyes. We all see the same thing. You want to look a certain way. So for me, I really enjoy getting as good of like imagery as like I can of me. And for example, like one of the things that like I really enjoy doing, and I almost have like a weird ego about this, like if there's like a male physique in front of me, like someone that like lifts, I feel like if I have like enough time with them, I could figure out precisely the kinds of ways to take images of them that's most flattering and accentuating like their like physique and stuff. So I almost like I enjoy looking at the artwork of a body through like a digital medium of like a 2D finalized like scan and stuff. So for me, I enjoy like taking like pictures of like myself, of like other people's like progress in that kind of way. And I guess that maybe that's more of an abstract way of doing like what people like do on stage. But another difference would be like when you're on stage is that you're deciding that, okay, at this fixed date and time, I want to come in looking my absolute best and I'm going to compete against a bunch of other people. The thing that appeals most to me about that is purely the disciplinary component, the fact that like your life becomes so regimented and linearized, like you have just X amount of cardio, X amount of food, X amount of weightlifting in that day, and there's such a sense of just like peace with that. You don't have to worry about anything else. That's just your life. That's so anti-anxiolytic and just like seductive to a degree. So that's the primary thing that I would like be attracted to, but I feel like I can get that level of disciplinary fixation through like other means. But like other issues or like things that like make me like disresonate with like competitive bodybuilding would be like this sheer like subjective factor. You know, obviously it's judges' opinions. I still don't even know like what's the like objective like criteria with how they evaluate bodybuilders. To me, I thought not so long ago, I was like, if I had to make the sport as objective as possible, how would I do it? And I think I came up with something along the lines of taking everyone's physiques the day of the show and having them be measured in some like device that precisely three-dimensionally scans their entire body and runs mathematical algorithms based on sacred geometry and like Fibonacci sequences and all these like fucking golden ratio type numbers numbers to just objectively evaluate, all things considered, size, proportions, everything, who has mathematically the best physique, and then just literally have a computer equal that. And then you take each bodybuilder and you put them on stage and you have them do a dance, a routine, like something with music to add a humane artistic component to the brood logical calculation, and then combine those two variables and equals like the winner, right? Because how we have it now is something that I've thought about. I don't know if this has changed or this is how it actually is, but I go to shows, I'm like, what if the lighting's different from show to show? I know for me, if I stand under the light this way, I look one way. I literally move the light a little bit, boom, my like abs like look completely different. So that, the subjectiveness of the components, just like the genetic subjectivity, there's just so much like subjectiveness that like, it's just super fucking subjective, like to put it frank, where something like powerlifting, you know, 3 white lights, 3 red lights, you got the lift, like you didn't get it. But even if it is like super subjective, I could still see myself doing it and enjoying the disciplinary aspect of it, like for sure. But yeah, I just never felt like that overwhelmingly like drawn to it. I just enjoy, you know, lifting and just getting like the best like content that I can, whether it be like videos or pictures. So yeah.
Such a Dave answer. Holy shit.
That was a Dave answer. You're very, as you mentioned, you like logic, and at the end of the day, as you mentioned, some people have different proportions and limb lengths, for example. So when you're on stage, sometimes it is biasness, right? It's subjective to the panel, what they like better, and it doesn't come down to what that mathematical equation could equal out to on that given day.
And like for me, this could be like ignorance to a degree, but one way that I would think about it is, okay, at the absolute highest levels, right, I would assume that everyone that's competing is working just as hard. They're all working like just as smart. So at the end of the day, it's primarily genetics, and then the secondary factor is basically like who fucked up their prep, right? Because I would assume that like if everyone's prep goes 100% perfect, right, then it's basically like whose genetics win. But I think that someone sometimes with inferior genetics could beat someone else if the one with better genetics fucked up their prep and you like optimized your prep. So yeah, but I don't know. But like other times, like for example, like I would like speak to like I remember one time I was like speaking to Phil Heath. I was like working out with him, and we ended up recording like a whole hour-long podcast, which unfortunately I don't have access to because it got like the file got corrupt or whatever. But just the extreme level of like nuance in which he was like describing like how he activates like certain muscle groups on certain like lifts was, I thought, even though I didn't know all those nuances, I thought that I knew that they existed and roughly how many of them there were. But hearing like someone like at that level like discuss it and the passion in which he discussed it, I was like, holy shit, there's like, this is like such a rich and sophisticated discipline that even if I would never compete in it, I have like just like such admiration for like the people that like devote their entire lives to that. I think anyone that devotes their life to anything and like how like nitty gritty they get with it, it's kind of like admirable.
It's fair.
When did you record that podcast at Phil Heath? And it was on your channel or his?
It wasn't even like a podcast. We were like, we had IRONBROS to ourselves, and we were gonna do like a collab because he just started working with Gymshark, and we just like, we were filming. And then, like, we soon realized that we're not really interested in lap pull downs. We kind of want to talk. So we kind of transitioned into more talking. Yeah. And then I handed off the camera to, like, someone else to, like, film the talking. It was getting so good, so juicy. And then the camera guy accidentally just ripped the fucking battery out mid-record, and I just couldn't recover the file since. It was a great conversation. I was about to say, because
I would be super curious because I'm now into that, like, way of training of activating the muscle, feeling it, instead of just, like, A to B progressive overload. Like, it's all about activating getting a muscle to work within that set. So I would have loved to listen to that and just Phil Heath's fucking brain, dude. Oh my God.
For sure. And he's like, when he like speaks about it, like
he's into it. No,
he's into it. You can feel it. Right?
I would love, dude.
Like even for me, like my lifting and shit, because I've been like primarily like compound movements, fucking mind muscle connection, just, you know, lock out the form with good, lock out the way with good form. But now I'm getting like, just like more like nuance with it. Like I'm like growing like my lower lat and shit. I'm finding these like,
I remember
I'm starting to appreciate machines. Before I would hate machines. Like, machines are for fucking losers. No stability. You're just a shitty person if you use machines. I'm like, I see the wisdom in machines.
Yeah.
It's so specific with something. It's kind of nice.
Oh wow, times have changed. Times have changed.
Even now, I think Kyle was the one that's responsible for that back growth because we were like.
I remember you asked him over here. Yep, you asked him.
I don't know what it is. I've been kind of working out for 10 years, and I feel like my muscles got kind of big. But like when I flex my back in this way, it's just not there. I don't know where the fuck the growth has been. It's just simply not there. It's like a 2D sheet of paper, like with 3 layers thick. What the fuck do I do? He was like, okay, you need to do like a lat pull down, but you need to activate these lats. So just like focus on squeezing your elbow in. And I've been doing that so much on these movements and these movements that I realized I've hit the pinnacle of that because the other day in my house when I was doing that movement, I was like feeling my bicep and it was fully deactivated. Not a single fucking strand in my bicep was on. This shit was dead. It was asleep. And this was like fully turned on. I was like, wow, all these videos I saw as a kid about think about your elbow as a hook, disable your bicep. I'm like, I fucking did it. I fucking did it. It's not a myth. It's actually possible.
But the thing is, it took you, that interaction that we had was, I don't know the specific date, but it was more than 6 months ago. Yeah. And if you've been practicing since, it takes that long for it to like.
For sure.
Click.
It's almost like you start off with a blank canvas. You're doing the movement. It looks correct on paper, but you kind of just don't feel anything, right? So you just pretend you feel it. You convince yourself that you like really focus on something. You don't really know what you're focusing on. It's like, oh, mind muscle, yeah. Bodybuilding motivation video, yeah. Oh, mind muscle. And then like slowly you like fake it till you make it, till you kind of feel like one strand. You're like, oh, mom, I feel it. Like it's like activate. It's like there. And then you just keep doing that. It's almost like your brain lays down new neural pathways in that area. Right. And then you eventually get to the point where you're fucking Sean Roden and everything is just activated immediately.
And that's what I always say.
Did you say Sean Roden?
Yeah.
It's such a.
He was say Sean Ray if you want.
Yeah.
But that's why I always tell people, like, I think training is like one of those things you can always improve with because you can get those top bodybuilders. I'm sure Phil Heath, the Kai Green, their connectivity neurologically with a muscle group is on such another level that you can't fathom it until you start to like really practice how you can flex a certain body part without even doing anything. It's just you think about it and I got it.
Yeah.
And when you're a newbie, I guess you don't have that ability because you can't even understand how it is possible.
Yeah.
But over time, through repetition, it is possible. So you mentioned something earlier. You don't really consume much fitness content.
Yeah.
Yet you still make fitness content. So what is your driving reason like that you're still making the fitness content, and what do you want to do with your content moving forward, being that you don't consume it, so you kind of have a straight and narrow path to where you focus on your own lane and no one else's, and you don't have to?
I mean, I think the truth is I just enjoy making video content in general. It's starting with the magic tricks and the prank video edits and that kind of stuff. That
prank
transition
videos.
Over to, well, just like I would do prank videos and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you're next. But I would do all that stuff. Then like the most current incarnation of my video passion expression is like fitness stuff. So a lot of times, so there'll still be times where I just want to make content that's not necessarily fitness based, but I know that, okay, if I'm uploading it to like social media and stuff, one of the primary reasons people follow me for is for fitness oriented reasons. So I'm still going to like sneak in a workout there, make it like adhere, be like somewhat congruent with like fitness in general. But I don't know. I try to just make videos about things that I just like enjoy, whether it's like interactions with people that I find entertaining or like just obscure, just abstract cinematic images with music playing that I like is like enjoyable or like satisfying for me to make. And I definitely don't upload like frequently at all. So those instances don't happen nearly as often as would be ideal. But yeah, I guess I kind of just like, maybe even like to put it poetically, I guess, just kind of do what I've always been done, which is just make the kind of content that I want to make. Because when I started making content, I wasn't trying to fit a certain model or a certain script. I was just doing what felt natural to me. So I guess I'm like still like purportedly doing that now. And like moving forward, I'm not exactly sure. I'm honestly like sometimes I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So
are there any projects in the pipeline or things that you go to bed at night sometimes thinking like, hey, I want to do this?
I know his next video. Arnold Classic UK. That's the title. That's the video.
No.
Gymshark UK.
No. The video is going to be called Arnold.
Oh, that's even better. Now you gotta get a thumbnail with Arnold. Then that would be good.
Yeah, that'd be difficult. I might just like chat GBT like a picture of like his like synthetic young self, just like AI generated like me and stuff. But who knows? But yeah, I don't know what the future holds, Kyle. It's going to be lots of elbow tighted pull downs, lots of injury rehabilitations, and lots of filming it.
Dave's a simple guy. Chess, whoop watch, sauna, healthy foods. That's all I got.
Apple Watch too.
And arm wrestling.
Bro, you should have brought the chessboard. Live game.
I have a few ending questions for you. Do you have anything else to add before?
I might.
Okay. Well, I'll start with, throughout your longevity and duration on this planet Earth, not sure where you were before this, but you're here now. Will you look back, any regrets that stick out to you, other than under eating and overtraining?
Sorry.
I mean, a few palpable regrets would obviously, be like the injury components and stuff. That would be
Aside from those things that you can't change, it happened to you, made you who you are. Is there anything you look back and you regret?
He's trying to pinpoint on you.
Listen, Kyle. There may have been a few things that I feel like transpired less optimal than would be ideal. But,
nothing you can share with the viewers.
But I don't know. I'm just getting brain fog. I'm running out of words. Maybe we'll have to flesh it out next podcast.
Question number 2.
My second question was going to be a very generic one that I feel like people don't ask enough, and that's, are you happy?
What does happiness mean?
Let's
vaguely define it a little bit. Obviously, we can't get exact with it. Just kind of, you can't define love. So like, what kind of like?
I would like you to provide your answer based on how you would define happiness. Without.
So I gotta define this shit and answer this. It's a lot of work. I'll do it. Okay. So basically,
Bro, what? The most difficult guess ever.
well, here, like, okay, what is? I think we could disambiguate maybe like happiness and like satisfaction, where happiness is kind of like it's almost like a very like dopaminergic feeling, like it's almost like an aroused like feeling, like an autonomically, right? You just kind of like feel up, like you're smiley, you're giggity, that kind of feeling. Feelings like that, they're like transient, they come and go, and like to the degree that you'll feel happy and for however long you'll feel happy, you're not able to sustain that, because if you did sustain that, then that would neutralize your baseline. So you have to experience the inverse of like unhappiness. So that just kind of goes like that. So I could be happy today, or I could happy for a week, and then I'll be unhappy sometime later. And that's for most people. It just kind of fluctuates like that. If anything, I try to have my highs not be too high, because I know if a high is getting real high, there's going to be a big fucking inverse. Maybe, for example, like people after winning a show or after doing a show feel fucking great, but then afterward you're just kind of like, oh fuck, because you literally, your brain drained all your dopamine from all like the build up and happiness to like the big event, and then you're going to dip after. But like, then if we, I guess, look at like satisfaction, it's a little bit different than that, because the feeling of like satisfaction has almost just a non-stimulating, just peaceful, aligned component to it. So yeah, so with happiness, like, I feel like all people on average, unless they have like clinical depression or something extremely like suboptimal, some days will be happy, some days will be bad, but we're all roughly like at like the same baseline. But I think what's definitely like worth pursuing, I suppose, is just like a feeling of like satisfaction. And like for me, like I guess like some of the times when I'll feel that is, as trivial as it may sound, just like in the process of like making a video. Like I'll like put something in the timeline, I don't know how it's supposed to look, and I'll just like cut her up a few ways, and then I'll play it back, and like it's going, but like something about it just like doesn't flow, like it doesn't like sit right, gives me like a little bit of an ick, or just like something just doesn't like dance how it should, and I keep like re-tinkering it. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing to it, but I just keep surgically rearranging shit in like macro and micro ways, and doing that again and again and again until I click play and everything just flows. And that feeling of flow is just like satisfying. It's just like peaceful. So almost if you could apply that same methodology to like larger scale things with how you approach life, you can maybe attain a state of just, I don't know, content or satisfaction. That could all be a bunch of horseshit. I just made that up, but it's
good, right?
I bought your bullshit. I bought it.
You bought it, right? That's good. Okay, just keep buying it.
Good answer. That's what I expected the answer to be.
Yeah. I don't have a question for the man. Nope, no question for you.
I have a request. I think next time we do this, headphones are essential.
Yeah, we don't have headphones. That could be a good investment.
if you're gonna record here, it's essential. It's absolutely essential. People even have headphones in like dead silent
No, I know,
studios.
yeah.
Here it would definitely be.
It just helps stay locked in a little bit.
Oh. I'm sorry, I gotta go to sleep soon. You chose 8 p.m. Usually it's at like 10 a.m.
8 p.m. is my prime time.
Yeah, I know. You go to sleep
Shit.
at 4. I go to sleep at 11.
You have any questions for us, Dave?
Yeah, Kyle, what are your fucking life regrets other than your injuries? How about that?
Touche, David.
Yeah, too fucking shay. Grant, I think your micro SD card's melting. Let's
No, bro, it's got 3 hours to go.
Oh fuck.
Let's wrap up.
You want me to close it?
No, I'm saying we're good to wrap up, right?
Dave should close it.
Dave, why don't you close it?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for tuning into the Iron Podcast, Iron Rev Podcast. What's it called?
Both of those work great.
The Iron Rev Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Future shows are just only going to improve in production quality. We're all going to have headphones, and I wish this podcast luck and growth. You guys are currently at an exponentially way better path than my current podcast channel, which is just collecting just dust. And yeah, it was nice to catch up with my two old fellas, and I'll see you guys next time.
Toodaloo.
I appreciate you joining us.
Toodaloo-dee-doo.